Hi there, I'm Marianne. So I know a lot of people seem to be kind of going out of their minds and do not know what to do with themselves during this whole quarantine situation. Quarantine, that still sounds really weird to say. Like, I did not ever imagine myself saying that in real life, in all seriousness. Anyway, if you're looking for something to do, I thought that I would introduce you all to something that has taken up hours and days and years of my life. Mudding! What is mudding, you may ask? Well, MUD stands for Multi User Dungeon. Dungeon is the name of one of the original text based role playing games that MUDs were based off of. And multi user, of course, means that you play it online with other people. It's kind of like MMORPGs like World of Warcraft or Skyrim, only without the graphics, because everything, the descriptions, the commands, how you interact with the game, it's all text based. It's like the old adventure game on DOS. Yes, I am that old. um, it's also a lot similar to Dungeons and Dragons, only you play it with people all around the world, and there isn't a single dungeon master running things. Each person can kind of make their own character and their own story and interact with the world and their friends and enemies and go wherever their ambition takes them. So, really, the possibilities are kind of endless. So, I started mudding in the early 2000s. I have always loved medieval fantasy and creating stories and characters. I played Myst, which I loved because it was this open world where you could explore and solve puzzles and mysteries. And I loved creating my own interactive stories that I wanted to play out with other people, like murder mysteries and other kind of role play situations. I tried doing some of that, online in chat rooms, but that never really panned out. So I started, trying to look for other role playing games that would be something I enjoyed, and I stumbled upon MUDs, which was pretty much exactly what I was looking for. Being able to build your own character and create stories and role play with other people, it was, that's what I love to do. And there's a wide variety of MUDs out there. A lot are fantasy based, but there's also sci fi and post apocalyptic and MUDs based on book series and all kinds of things. So there's really something for everyone. So I tried a few different games to start out. Topmudsites.com is a great place to look to find the kind of game that you're interested in. I think that's where I found my first home MUD, which I got very much addicted to, called Feudal Realms. Shout out. Thank you, T, for all the effort you put into it and for making, you know, this awesome place that I had years and years of fun and frustration and awesomeness. Like, really, I played that game for a few years, and yeah, pretty much all my waking hours. Like, yeah, seriously addicted. But one of the things that I loved about it was, the community and socializing and making friends with people all around the world. And yeah, I got very much addicted to my characters and the goings on of the world, had to see what's going on. Like, that was my social life. I know. Um, Fortunately, I overcame that addiction and I stopped playing before the mud finally shut down, which, you know, fortunately, because I think I would have been devastated otherwise. I think that was around 2005. I got a boyfriend, which I think is the cure for mudding, apparently. I started college, I got my degree, and it was a few years later that I really started to miss it, and I got that urge to roleplay again. So it was 2009 that I went searching again, and I found my current mud, Geas, which is not how you pronounce that. I think it's actually something like Gish. It's Irish, I believe. I'm probably totally butchering that pronunciation too, but I'm an American and we kind of just, do our own interpretation of things. So, yeah, Geas is kind of what I end up calling it. So we'll go with that. A a Geas is it's sort of a bond or a curse placed on someone where they're obligated to do something or they're prohibited from doing something. And I don't know why they chose that name for the game, but it's kind of interesting because it's something that I learned about in college when I took a class on Legends of the British Isles. So it's interesting that that came up again. So, a little bit about the game. Geas is a role-playing force mud, which is what I was looking for. There's, a wide variety of different types of muds out there. Some are hack and slash, where you mostly just fight monsters and, build experience and build up your characters. There's some that are more, player versus player fighting and killing. I've always enjoyed the role play aspect of things. I love, you know, just inhabiting the characters and exploring and building those stories. So I was looking for more a role play enforced mud or role play intensive mud, which that just means that you have to be in character all the time. You pretty much just are your character, and the things you do are based on things that your character would do. So on Geas, there are some out of character channels where, you can, discuss certain mechanical aspects or things like that. But for the most part, you are your character and doing what your character would do and acting how they would act. Geas is also levelless, which is another thing I was looking for because I don't like to just mindlessly hunt monsters for experience. You do have experience on Geas, but all the skills are learned by doing, which just means that the more you do something, the better you get at it. So if you want to be a fighter, you can fight things, or you can learn languages, or make potions, or whatever it is you'd like to do, and you aren't restricted to anything in particular. Geas is also technically classless, meaning that you don't pick a particular class to start. You can learn a wide variety of different skills. There are guilds, which kind of act like classes in that there are certain skills you can only learn by joining a particular guild. And there are guilds like clerics and rangers and mages where, you kind of aim your character in that particular focus, but you're not restricted in that, technically you could leave a guild and join another one. It's just hard to learn a wide variety of different skills. Like you'll never be a master mage and a master fighter or thief because just learning that many different types of skills is really hard. Like it'll take you months and months of actual playing time. Like it's technically possible, but only characters that have been around for years and years and years have actually, been able to get high skills in all of those different categories. So it's really probably a good idea to focus on one path or the other. I mean, that isn't to say that you can't explore. That's kind of what I did on my first character, just seeing what all was out there, what kind of skills I wanted to learn and the different sorts of things, learning the world and the lore and everything, just kind of to get a better idea of what the world is like and what kind of character I wanted to make. So currently, I've been playing my half-elf mage, Arsicus. He is a scribe, a master scribe, and he's getting close to earning his promotion to become a magister in the Mage Guild. He just has a little bit more to learn. He's kind of on a race with White Crow at the moment to see which one of us will reach magister first. So we'll see. I have to say, mage is probably one of the more difficult paths to take. Um, I've had this character for almost 9 years now, and that was before the Mage Guild even existed. But he has always wanted to learn magic, and that was something he was able to learn as a master scribe. But mage is kind of, the next step after that. It's more in depth. You can actually create your own spells, and if the admin deem it fit, they will add them to the game world, which is really exciting. So it's, yeah, pretty much anything you can think of, as long as it fits in the world and it isn't like super overpowered, because, they've kind of put the veto on certain things. Like, Hela would really like to be able to resurrect herself, but that's a little too close to cleric magic, apparently, so Too bad. But yeah, you definitely need patience and persistence, like just getting the requirements, the mental stats and the other requirements to join the Mage Guild is quite a long process. So I don't want to discourage people, but if you just want to be a fighter, that's way easier. But there's a whole wide variety of different paths you can take. So I would just see what's out there and what you enjoy and go wherever your heart leads you. Anyway, how about I show you some actual gameplay? So I use Mush Client to connect to the game. There's a number of different clients out there. There's Zmud, Gmud, Mudlet. Those are just a few of the ones that I know of. So to connect to the game, go up here to File, to Geas, and there we go. I put in my character name, Arsicus, and I will hide my password. And now I am connected, so I can look around. So this is basically what you'll see moving from room to room in the game. You'll see the room description. Currently, I am in the inn in Elvendar, the Elven city. So you see, yeah, the room description. There could be objects in the room or people, and you see the exits, the different ways you can move around. So one of the things I usually do when I first log in is check the who list. So this shows you who is online. There have been a few different iterations of the who list over the years, as you can see if I scroll up. So this currently shows you all the characters who have been online in the past 48 hours that that you've been introduced to. So these are the characters I know. And you can see characters with an asterisk next to their name, like Ariel, Ela. Those are characters who are online currently. Now you can also set it to be who off, meaning that you don't show up on the who list, but you also can't see who's online. So technically, all of these characters without an asterisk next to their name, they could be online and just be who off, but I'm not sure. So, but yeah, as a newbie, you'll find that this is completely blank because you haven't met anyone yet. But don't get discouraged because there are probably people online. You just have to meet people and get introduced to them, and then they'll show up on the list. So if I go down, also you can see there is a wizard online currently, Alaltar. Wizards are basically the staff of the game. They help run things and work with the code, fix bugs, things like that. If you need to communicate with them, you can use the commune command, or you can send them a mail in-game. So if I look around, so moving around, you'll see you can use different directions. So there's an exit west and down. So if I want to go down, I can just use D to go down. And here we are on the main floor of the inn. You can see these names in blue here. These are actually NPCs, non-player characters. As a newbie, you might find it hard to distinguish NPCs from actual players because, they all look the same. One way you can distinguish them is there are certain things you can ask NPCs about certain terms. For example, help is something you will ask commonly, and they'll usually give a response, an automatic response, whereas players respond a bit more organically. I have had newbies come up to me and ask me a bunch of random terms, and I'm like, it's okay, I'm an actual person, you can just talk to me normally. So it kind of takes some getting used to, but you'll figure it out eventually, I think. So, yeah. So let's see. If I head east here. So here we see other people. So Belladon is another NPC. I can look at him. Oh, I also have to say, I use Deku commands, which is an alias system. My old mod was a Deku mod. That was the code system it used. So I've kind of gotten used to those commands. And so if you use the Deku commands, it just aliases certain commands to use that system. I guess I'm kind of old habits die hard. I'm probably one of the only long-standing players that still uses the alias system, but I mean, technically, you do want to learn the basic commands. For example, like I can just look Belladon instead of look at Belladon, or like get item container instead of get item from container. But you probably do want to learn the actual commands on this system just because certain things you do need the exact syntax and certain things don't work with the Deku aliases. So it's probably a good idea to get used to it. But so you might see me using slightly different commands than you might use on your own. So let's see. I can look at White Storm here. It's a horse, actually. And yeah, looking at myself even. So, a stone-faced, mysterious male half-elf. That is how I will appear just walking around to people who haven't been introduced to me. And once you introduce yourself, you can be remembered as a particular name, or you can also remember people by a particular name if they introduce themselves, or you can just remember them if you know their name, or if you just want to assign a name to them. That's something you can do. So you'll see my description, what I look like, also the equipment I'm wearing, and that sort of thing. So this is me. And some of the commands you'll want to know as far as interacting with people, there's the say command, which should be pretty easy enough. You just say something. And I have it set, you can set how you want to say something, like speak softly, or you can set it to whatever you want, really. So you can say, you can ask, I think I showed that earlier, or you can tell if you want to direct a command or direct a say to a particular person. You can tell him in particular hello. Also, emote is another command which will let you describe different actions you take. For example, like basically anything you can think of, you can emote. One thing you want to think of is we like to avoid power emotes, which is basically like you don't want to slap someone across the face or do like when you look upon this person you feel tremendous fear. Basically you don't want to force an action on the other person. You want to let them react on their own. It's kind of just roleplay etiquette. So you can emote whatever your character would do, but don't force any actions upon somebody else. Another thing, basically some shortcuts to emotes is, for example, I could nod at him politely. Those are little, yeah, kind of brief emotes that are already just set in the game. Things like that, like smile, things, basically simple. There's a list of them I can show you, but you can go into long, in-depth emotes if you want. It helps add more detail, but if you just want a quick response, you know, smile or nod or something like that, those are options available to you. Let's see, what else is there? Well, that's pretty much the basics that you'll need to know as far as interacting. I can go into more in depth later, but hopefully that gets you a kind of a brief introduction anyway. So there you go. So there you go. I hope that kind of gave you sort of a glimpse into what it's like to play a mud. If you're interested in giving it a try, I have some links below, or you can leave a comment and I can help walk you through it, sure. I'm going to try and do in the future some more videos that go into more details about certain aspects of the game, like creating a new character, you know, combat, things like that, because this was kind of just a brief intro, but I hope you all are doing well in this social distancing climate. If you need something to do, try mudding. It's a lot of fun. It's addicting, but I love it. Um, so yeah, stay healthy, stay safe, stay indoors, and I will see you next time. Bye.